Hello and welcome to the channel, and today I'll be taking a look at a classic car auction which is due to be held by Historics Auctioneers on Saturday the 23rd of November 2024. The sale is to take place at the Brooklands Velocity, Mercedes-Benz World in Weybridge, Surrey. I'd like to add that this video is intended for entertainment purposes only, to make you aware of the sale and some of the vehicles that will be coming to market. I have not seen any of these vehicles in person. I make no recommendations, and the views and opinions expressed by me are based purely upon the online sales catalogue, and would add that this can be no substitute for attendance in person on one of the viewing days. Photographs and videos cannot be relied upon to fully reflect a car's true state. I personally would not buy any vehicle sight unseen. So if any of these vehicles are of serious interest to you as a potential buyer, I would advise you to make your own inquiries for each lot prior to the sale. And I would also advise that you attend in person on one of the viewing days to determine description, condition, suitability and value for yourself. Right, I'm not selecting this one, but I'm just going to quickly say that the 1962 Sunbeam Alpine Le Mans, it's one of three built by the Routes Competition Department for the 1962 Le Mans 24-hour race. There's quite a write-up about its race history, which I don't intend to go into, but it's well worth reading. Lot 197, registration 2WO. Obviously, the significance of that is Walter Owen Bentley. So if you've got a Bentley and you want to have a WO2 number plate, there's your opportunity. Apparently, WO1 sold recently for £220,000. The BMW M3 Evolution convertible looks quite smart, doesn't it? And it comes with its colour-coded hard top, as you'll see. Quite a stylish car, I think. A 1965 Mercedes Heckfloss, or Fintail as it's commonly referred to. 55,000 miles apparently. Like the colour combination of the white with the red interior. All right, my first selection's lot 210. Another XGS, right? Wrong. This isn't just another XGS because this one's a bit special as far as I'm concerned. It's cars like this that really interest me. Why? Well, the clue's in the registration plate to start with. It's got an AC indicator which tells you it's Coventry registered. And as you've probably gathered, it was owned by Jaguar Cars. Ordinarily, that doesn't mean a lot. Lots of cars have been owned by Jaguar. But it doesn't end there, of course, does it? Because this was the original Jaguar press car. And this car is the earliest of two very early pre-production cars built by Jaguar and Carman in late 1987. And they were used for development of the new XJS convertible, and they also performed press duties. This car was originally registered on the 4th of April to Jaguar Cars Limited, and it was immediately dispatched to the French Riviera for the XJS convertible press launch in Cannes. And the ideal setting, of course. And you'll see that there's a video on Historics website where Top Gear actually review the car, and you see, I think it's William Woolard stepping off a yacht onto land to get into the XGS and drive off. Where else would you have one? It was used extensively as the launch press car. It appeared in features in the Sunday Times magazine, television documentaries Wheels, The Joy of Motoring, also used, as I say, in the south of France for road test to BBC's Top Gear. And it's presented in signal red with magnolia leather trim. The car entered private ownership on the 24th of December 1988. It comes with a heritage certificate, and it said that the car was given a full body restoration circa 2010-2011, covering just over 3,500 miles since. Now, as you know, Jaguar's XGS was released to the public in September 1975, and production ran all the way through to 1996. So for what you might think a lot of people would regard as not being a popular car, it ended up being, I think, Jaguar's longest running production vehicle. And it was a very popular car. And I think that once the convertible had been released in 1988, I think Jaguar had their best sales year in 1990. I've got to say that um, I got the opinion that a lot of people weren't that fussed on the XGS. But whenever I take mine out, it's always amazed me how much attention it actually receives. And I've discovered that they are far more popular cars than you would actually believe. Lovely cars. A nice looking Aston there. And an SL Mercedes. Right, the next one I'm going to take a very brief glance at is Lot 218. A 1962 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. We've got to take a look at this one, haven't we? Now, I'm not going to say too much. We're just going to enjoy looking at the pictures. All I'm going to say is that obviously the days of the big fins have now gone after reaching the height in 1959. And of course, the fins now have become more subdued. I love the turquoise colour, and it was a popular colour back in the 60s. And I like equally the colour coded interior. Um, Fantastic. Apparently, this car has also got an air suspension. Now, as I say, I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to quickly have a look at the pictures and then we'll move on. Lot 221, the 2006 Audi TT. Let's take a very quick glance at this one. Apparently, only 580 miles from new. I personally think they're a bit of a design classic, and I think it's the right colour to accentuate those lines. Much prettier than the later models, as far as I'm concerned. I personally feel that the later models went off, and I think they lost that styling. I find it hard to believe that people haven't been collecting these cars and they've been doing much better than they have been for such a long time. At some point, I'm sure people will then sit up and realise what they've been missing. Pagoda model, nice Bentley, nice Range Rover. The F430 there, 2,456 miles. Nice GT6 there in pimento red. And that 190 SL Mercedes looks rather nice, doesn't it? And it's got a hard top with it. Right, the next selection is Lot 229. It's a 1961 Aston Martin DP 214 two-room copy, as they say. Now, this car's a copy of an original Aston Martin racing legend, I believe. It competed at many British circuits and extensively used in Europe, as well as competing at Laguna Seca in California. And it was originally built by Adrian Johnson at Post Vintage Engineers. Now, I'm not going to say a great deal more about it because there's a much further detailed write up about the original DP214 and this car itself. So I think what we'll do is we'll just enjoy the pictures. And if you want to read more about its history, I would say go and have a look at the website and have a look about its history. Again, very interesting. So hopefully enjoy the pictures. I wasn't going to select this one, but lot 243, I've got to take a quick glance at it. It's a 1960 Bogwood Isabella. A very rarely seen vehicle in this country, I would say. If vehicles like this interest you, then why not check out BFD Drives? Gentleman features lots of fine German machinery and Eastern European motor vehicles and motorbikes. So Sven, this one's for you. Let's have a look and see what this Bogwood Isabel is all about. A very rare car for us, very rarely seen in this country. Appears to present quite smartly, two-door as you'll see, and it's right-hand drive. So a very rare car, I would have said. Webasto sunroof, as you can see. Bremen. Bogwood Bremen. A radiomobile. Right, moving on. That Railton looks rather smart. The land there was just 17,600 miles. Right, now my final selection is lot 254. It's one of my all-time favourites, and it's a 1992 Range Rover Classic Vogue SE. And it doesn't matter whether it's a two-door or a four-door Range Rover. I love the Classic. I think they're a fantastic car. And yes, we know they have their issues, but which car doesn't? And I still love them despite everything else. This one looks rather splendid, and it's said to have a mileage of 86,538 recorded. First registered in April 1992 to the factory at Lord Lane. It wasn't until January 1993 that it passed into private ownership, where it remained with one family since. And it's presented in the rarer colour of Aegean blue, which I think is rather nice. And it's nice to see one in a different colour. It's got nice light grey leather, and on the face of it, this looks to me as being an honest, genuine, classic vehicle that's been cared for and looked after. Now, the thing that jumps out at me with this one is this is a 1992 model, and I'm surprised to see the three-spoke wheels because I thought by that time they'd actually gone, but obviously they hadn't. And I think that looks rather nice. I do like the LSE wheels, I've got to say, but I think these three-spoke wheels do look nice and they look different. So let's have a little look a bit further at the car and see what we make of it. So as we say, it's got the 3.9 litre engine. Now, it doesn't matter which angle you look at this car, it just looks fantastic, doesn't it? It's got presence. And it's one of those cars that just reeks of old money. And it doesn't matter where you turn up, you'll be accepted. Now, obviously, a lot of people mention things such as looking at the tailgate tops. And this one looks fine. But that's just one area. Obviously, you can see the tailgate looks fine. And again, the lower tailgate looks to be in good order. But the places that really interest me are I start to look in places like just by the rear lights. And it's nice to see a nice, crisp panel line running down the side because they can rust there as well. And that, to me, is what you want to see, a nice, crisp line. The next area I look at in particular is underneath the tailgate, just along the back here, between the rear bumper and the tailgate itself. And they are renowned for suffering with rear chassis outrigger rust problems. And they often need replacing along with the boot floor and lots of other bits in between. And this, to me, You can't see a lot in this picture, but we'll have a look a little bit further, and it gives good indications to me of being a car that is better than the usual ones that you see. Another thing which I've picked up on here, which is something I don't recall seeing before. I don't know whether you can see what it is, and it's to do with the badging. Now, you get lots of Range Rovers that have been repainted. They get the lettering put on. Some look right, some don't look right. But do you know, when we look at this badge here, the Vogue SE Catalyst, I don't ever recall seeing the SE like that before. Obviously, I would say it was, but probably because I've seen so many since that they've had the badges replaced that you don't notice it anymore. It becomes the norm. But this is the bit that interests me most. It says Catalyst. I don't ever recall seeing a Range Rover with that badging on. Maybe I did, maybe I've forgotten, but I don't recall seeing one, and I haven't seen one. I don't think I've ever seen one for a long time, if I have. So I found that interesting, and to me, that suggests to me that this is an original car, that it's not been repainted, because most people wouldn't even bother going to the trouble of having something like that put on. So that suggests to me, as I say, that this paintwork looks original on the face of it. I don't think there's any doubt personally. That's just my personal view. And of course, 1992, during 1990, we were starting to get into this transition period where you could buy a car and it would run on either leaded or unleaded petrol. Or you could buy a new car and you could have it already equipped with a catalytic converter. And a lot of those cars had a catalyst badge on to sort of proudly display, oh, I've got a catalytic converter. And obviously, it would appear that that's where this vehicle has fallen. But of course, by 1992, anyway, all vehicles are required to have a catalytic converter because otherwise, it's not complying with the MOT regulations. Right, and you can see it's fitted with a tow bar, but let's have a look a little bit further. You can see the marina door handles, or what have been used as marina door handles. Got rear mud flaps. Lovely. Just looks so right to me. That look at that woodwork on the interior. Let's have a look at the figure. It looks so rich. It looks as though it's not been out in the sun. It's not been bleached. The lacquer doesn't look to be cracking. The veneer isn't split. The top of the dashboard looks good. And it says that it's a vehicle that's been garaged all its life. Again, you look at the centre console and around these switches here, and the woodwork looks nice and rich, which most of them look quite tired now. The seating looks very nice indeed. And again, the door hairpins, and it all just fits nicely together. Again, on these cars, one of the big areas you've got to watch out for is the inner wings, which can rust quite severely. And I'm not implying in any way that there's a problem with this car. I'm just saying it's one of the areas that you need to look very closely at. And although they may look a little bit grubby under the bonnet, you can see how nice and crisp these areas are. They're not rusted to bits like a lot of them can be. Just wants a little bit of detailing. Now that leather looks nice. It looks just the right sort of amount of wear. It looks fairly new actually. It looks to me as though it is a car that's been well and truly cherished. That does look nice. Interestingly as well, you see it's got a Range Rover radio. So it's original equipment, which is nice to see. And I thought that by this time they'd gone on to Clarion actually. Um, but yeah, I don't know that I've seen one badged Range Rover. Maybe I've not paid enough attention. Cruise control. Again, you can see down here, there doesn't appear to be any rust. It's just a bit of dirt. Um, and that's nothing. That'll soon clean up that, I'm sure. And I don't know whether you've ever opened a Range Rover tailgate, but boy, there is some weight in them. It's incredible how much weight there is actually in a Range Rover tailgate just to lower it down. Fantastic machines. And you'll see there we had the rear parcel shelf as well. That looks like new, doesn't it? Obviously, the carpeted spare wheel, that looks nice. This is, to me, a car that is above, head and shoulders above most of the examples that you see out there. And of course, you've got originality as well, I would say. And you've got this nice pinstripe as well. It doesn't look as though it's been messed around with. A good, honest, genuine example. Let's again look here. We can see what the panel's like down there. Again, the door shells are another thing on these cars that you need to look out for. There's so many areas you need to look out for. It isn't possible to go into them all on this run through. Um, but the door shells at the back, particularly the back doors, can rust quite badly where you've got the aluminium and the steel. And particularly on LSE Range Rovers, the extended ones, they really need to look at those very closely. But despite everything, I still love them. I think they're lovely machines. Now you can see in here, look along there, there doesn't appear to be any signs of rust that I can see there. And you can see quite often they look quite ropey underneath there. And that's what, to me, this is what you want to see, a nice painted area that doesn't look as though it's been messed around with. Yeah, that looks really nice. And again, the driver's cushion doesn't look to have suffered with too much wear. Quite often they fall apart. They get very saggy here as people climb in and out, squashing the bolster there. But that doesn't look too bad at all. In fact, it looks very good. Well, I think that's a lovely car. Very nice indeed. Right, let's finish off looking at what else is in the catalogue just before we leave it at that. And that Hudson Super 6, that looks rather splendid, doesn't it? Very nice. As I say, you do get a good selection of vehicles of all types with Historics. A 2004 Toyota Century, a V12. Interesting. Lot 263, the 2005 Jaguar XKR S white badge, the supercharged one, 24,000 miles, one of 200. That looks rather nice. And yet we know there are lots of cheap XK8s out there and XKRs. But it's like everything, you get what you pay for. And you have to decide, is it worth the money to you? But what I also think is that it's got 24,000 miles on the clock. There's not many out there with a low mileage anymore. And you think, how much would it cost you to restore a vehicle like that to a good condition? I said I wasn't going to select anymore. But I might just have a very quick glance at lot 263. But this is the run out model as well. And I think it looks rather splendid. It's in frost blue. I like the wheels. I like the run out model on it actually. Oh, look at that dashboard. Isn't that nice? The figuring on the wood. And look at the interior as well. Looks so nice. And you look at the suspension mountings. Oh, looks nice and crisp and clean. Just as you want it to be. And look at all there. All around here, all nice. Nice and clean looking. And Recaro seats. Do you know what? I didn't know that they had Recaro seats. Nice wheels. There we go. Very nice indeed. Yeah. That's a nice looking car to me. Right, just rounding up now. And that completes the lineup. I hope you've enjoyed the sale preview and thanks for watching. And once again, until next time, take care.